What made you want to get into the river business? How did you go from swimming to saying
Well, I liked it because I liked it outdoors, and I thought, well, if I could only get some people that at least would pay for the trips, because then I was selling real estate in Los Angeles in the winter to support me on the river and to do all these. But I always did a lot of crazy things, I biked out, and I did things other people didn't do at all times. And I just did it if I wanted to do it. I just simply figured I could do it and usually managed somehow. Because I've made that way, but partially from being born in Chicago, where you were self-reliant. There in tenement district, why it was up to you to survive, because I didn't have any of this knowing where everything was coming from, because we didn't know day by day where meals were coming from. So I was in that rougher element. But the training was sort of good where I had such a terrific mother, because I had a mother who wanted you to have spirit. She'd always say you're on the bottom, but everything has to be up. So if you keep spirit, you've got good health, why, you're lucky. And so that was her theme, that you're already here, you can't get any lower. So if you keep your health and have a good spirit. And so we were used to not much food and this type thing. And so but she was so terrific that she was something that the average don't have, because mine really wanted us to have that spirit. And she made sure you had it. A good sample was they had little gangs there, and every year they had kind of a test to be the leader. And so I was the leader, and then they put the first beach in that Chicago ever had on Oak Street. And so then they had this piling, then it came around the end, and then the waves would wash way up over it onto the street and back again in the wintertime. And so then it was much like chicken, but anyhow, the test was to who could make the slowest time around there would be the leader and survive. So then that one fellow went slower than I did, but being the leader, I got a second chance. So I made up my mind that he wasn't going to beat me, and I went too slow. And then the water got me, took me into the piling, and I hung on for dear life. And of course, then they just laughed at nobody about to do anything to try to help, which they couldn't have anyhow. And then I just hung on for dear life, though, somehow, but I sure got beat to death on those piling. And then I did get up in between the waves and managed to get up, so then I was still a leader, because, of course, it was the slowest, and I was still there. And boy, my face was puffed and everything else, because I really was battered. And so I only lived 2 blocks from there at that time. They used to have the tenement right with the good hotels and all. And then my mother had just got home from work, and so she looked at me, and I come in, and she said, well, what happened to you? And I said, we had the test for a leader. And I said I had to go the second time, so that new piling down there, and I got caught. It was in that piling hanging on, but I did hang on and got out. And she said, well, you're the leader, aren't you? And I said, yes. But the first thing she said was, you're the leader, aren't you? I said, yes. She said, you'll heal. That was that. Boy, I was battered, but you'll heal. So you did. You come up that way, so that was how it was. You didn't get all that.
Well, how'd you start talking people into coming down the river with you?
I talked my life away. I was selling real estate, but literally, as well as selling, to take pictures. And that was when then I had started to take pictures, and the first ones were pretty rough, but they were pictures anyhow. And then I showed then at men's clubs and all that sort of, like, even those pamphlets, you couldn't get anybody, because river running wasn't popular. There was none of that stuff. Nothing was here in America. Everybody went to Europe that had any money. They all went to Europe. You did have very small group of, like, Sierra Club, Climb Mountains and all, but you didn't have anybody on the river at all. And so then this wasn't the thing to do. But the people I got were the really tough pioneers, because I probably got the pick of the crop when it comes to engineers. Even as much as other rapids, that they do better when they even go through lava and go to the right and come in under the drop, that still they get more water coming across, and even than otherwise. But not, and I go to the top of lava too, but unless you have big water, it don't give the go. It's good if you get it right to drop in the hole, and you're right up on top, because you do drop right off the top there. And so that's the main thing to get to the big boats if there's no high water and you're going in low water, so you get mainly that main drop right off the top there, because that is the main thing. But on the other boats, even their pictures are good there, because they do come right and go across.
I think so.
So then it's hard for people to tell.
You getting your warning?
No.
Oh, good.
Let's go back to that. Louis, you were talking about how hard it was for you to get
Oh, to
people
get
to
people,
go.
yeah, and the pioneers. Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, we're going.
Guess we're fixed. Yeah, just how you started. I wanted to ask you, just the first time you ever ran a commercial trip, what that
Well,
was
it
like.
don't come that way. Not the first time. I was always trying to be business, but it didn't turn out that way. It usually was share the expense. Only I was paying the most of it at first with the boats and all, because it took time. You'd be surprised how long it took. Like Katie Lee told you, when she had even went with the first boats, the hard boats here, like Neville's, or when Wright bought them and all, that they just couldn't get passengers. And of course they portaged and all. So then that wasn't so good because they couldn't get it, because she remembers she just couldn't get passengers. And but the ones you did get were real pioneers.
Check that monitor. You might want to take a little bit of that top down. Just lower that shot just a hair. Okay.
The ones you got were real pioneers though, and they remained friends for life. But oddly enough, those are what you got. Those people were something else. They took care of themselves and all the way through, and they were the real pioneer type. And they come back and back. A lot of them that I got was almost like a club that came back every year. But of course, that still didn't make for a business of, so many. You get 15, 20 that were real ones that come back every year. But that only made so much, not what you needed. And that was when I even then started to take the film, and then I showed the film to all the men's clubs and everything, because then you sure weren't getting more women. So then I showed mostly to all men's clubs and Lions and all, just everything that you can think of. In colleges, I showed some colleges, but that didn't seem to get anything then. They liked the pictures, but you didn't get anybody to go. And so it was mostly men's club that did more good. And you got more of the professional type even then, oddly enough, rather than what you would think would be the regular ones like the truck drivers and that, but you didn't get them at all. And you still don't get those type people that much is the odd thing, because of course they do physical work when they're going, and they don't need that. So when they go for something different entirely, that is not so physical, because you still get more of the professional, but the ones then were real pioneers. And the women you even got then, they were real pioneers. The ones I did have were really rugged, and they remained rugged for life, so those people were a different type. And that's when people laugh when I now say they don't make them like they used to. Yeah, they don't make people like they used to. They're always telling me this back, because I'm always saying it. Even the Ranger repeats that statement that I say, they don't make people like they used to. But the Rangers help do this when they, do so many things, not wanting people to wait out to wash their hands and all this stuff. Because it's supposed to be, experience. It's not supposed to be a yacht trip. And if you can't wait out in the water to wash your hands, well, it's sad, I think, but so it goes. But yet I find that when I set up the dishwater and all like they like, and then even though people know they can wait out that wash your hands and all on their own, that they don't do it, that they do use the dishwater and that. And some of even my boatmen, even though they know they can, I never do. I don't use ever the dishwater. Anytime you dish your mind or anything. Of course, I have a system, because I always manage to eat salad or anything that I eat first, and then I drink hot coffee or something, and then that cleans a cup, and then that's that. So you learn a system when you live out all the time. You learn the easy way of living, and that fixes that one.
Boy, how did it make you feel that first time after you got through the river? Like that first time after you swam, making.
Oh, the swimming? Oh, well, I liked it because at that time, I was a thrill seeker to begin with, to a certain degree, and I liked the idea of accomplishing anything, and then I was used to doing what I wanted to pretty good, because I didn't usually manage to do anything I wanted to do. And so I just felt good that I had did it.
Well, when you started running commercial, who else was down here doing it?
Well, the commercial come in when the dam come in. So then there wasn't no commercial. And a few got interested when they heard the word of the dam, because then they knew there would be a concession. That when a dam come in, it usually meant concessions and all that, and park and all that comes with it. And I, not knowing as much as they didn't realize how big it would be. But my brother had said to me when he was reading, he said, well, your day is over. You better enjoy it, because now with the dam coming in, well, then it will begin to look different, because it will make the river 50% safer. And the Grand being what it is for scenery, then it will become a tourist highway, was the way he put it. It will become a tourist highway through the water, because then it will be tamed down. It won't be like now. And he spoke the words so absolutely true, because of course he was an engineer, and he was up on everything more than I was when changing things. So he read it just right, because that's just what happened. And I didn't believe him. I couldn't think it would ever be. And when they first paved this road down to Lee's Ferry, that was when it really hit me that things were changing. And then when they put that out in Monument Valley, because I had went over the San Juan and had always carried all this stuff to keep from getting stuck in the sand, or to get out if you did get stuck, and all the shovels and all. And then when they put the paved road out there, the first time I went on it, I couldn't believe it. Well, I knew things were really on the road out of the rugged area, that from there on it was not going to be. It was opening up, and it was that day was going to be gone. And it was sure true that one turned fast. But mainly, putting that road into Lee's Ferry made the big turn point. Because, see, even here, you used to have to go down, and you took people by truck from Marble Canyon, even if they came by bus out to here, because you had to ford the Paria River. That's the only way you ever got through. There was no other way. You had to ford the Paria River. And so you had to just know how to get across that all the time. And when you had floods or anything in the summer, rain showers, sometimes it was a problem. And you had people waiting, you had them doing everything to begin with. And then they rode down, the dust used to fly if it was dry, and they were full of dust. So your trips to start with were very ruggeder than they are now.
Well, so the dam really did
Oh yeah, the dam coming in, we put that in at Lee's Ferry. Why, then change came fast then, and then that's when they got the rangers. First time you ever had rangers of any kind or description, and things really changed then, quick.
Do you think it really did make the river safer?
Oh, naturally. Oh, sure. Now you wouldn't have many river runners if you changed it back. And the reason being, even when they had the water in 82 and 83, all the boats were upsetting, and they were flying people out by helicopter and all this stuff. And then you didn't have driftwood. Remember, there was no wood, however. You were only getting the water, and it's not as powerful as it would have been before all the dams, because at least it was slowed down. With all these dams, it slows the water. It was a lot faster before you got all these dams. Just even your smoother water was faster before you had all these dams in, because it just had more velocity to it. But so they would not go if it was like it was, because then you had the real heavy silt in the water all the time. It was permanent and forever, and the water was pure. You could drink it, but people had a hard time getting used to drinking that water, because it used to be a real test of a river rat to be able to just drip their cup in, because then you didn't. It was pure, but to drink it because of the coloring of it, and it had wood chips in it, and all. And so that you'd strain them out mainly, but nothing else. Let the wood settle all down and pour it off, and then just drink it. But I used to drink in the river all the time until the dam came in, and of course nevermore, with all that civilization up there and all that could come. And then as you got for sure the lake up there, then you sure wouldn't drink it, with all the boats on the river and everything, because you can't keep from contamination, however you want to put it. And so that changed things in that way. Oh no, it's a lot safer, heavens. And then you never dreamt of a thing like the water you have now at Nankoweap, that slow water. Because then when the water was slow at all, it was not like that, because the water with that big volume of water coming down picked up all the silt and kept it moving. You didn't get lakes like you got now practically in Nankoweap. You got so much of that it's practically lake-like almost. And then as they keep putting the silt down, because now when the silt is picked up by the up and down river of the Peking Par, then it's put down into places like Nankoweap. That's just where it drops it. And from the others, so that it makes it worse, makes fewer camps. But your main camps come from rains over the top more than Peking Par, because in the last 3 years, some of the main camps disappearing have been the water, the rain coming from over the cliffs, and then see you don't have no silt to replace it. You had it in the old day, but you wouldn't hardly know it, because then when the water would keep coming up, and it would pick all the sand up, and then when it dropped, it would re-drop the silt again. And it would drop in all these areas, so then it didn't matter that the storms washed it out from above. And so that's what a lot don't know, is these disappear, and it isn't the up and down of the Peking Par actually now. It's mainly these floods come over the top, because 2-3 of the camps in the last years that I used to stay at all the time have been cut in the middle by the floods from the top, not the bottom, but from the top. And it'll never be again, because there's nothing puts silt in, there's nothing gets back up there to where your camps was. So camps will be your major problem, and no matter what they do, they'll still be the big problem, because it isn't as much Peking Par as it is a flood, and it's the fact that a dam's a dam. The dam's in, and I accept everything. As Dave said this morning, or that I roll with the punches, and I said, the dam's in, so how she goes.
Well, how long do you think it'll last?
It's just slowly knocking out camps, you know.
I mean the dam, do you think?
Oh, the dam will last, but I think you're going to have trouble on camps going down the river, because you're going to have, unless they blast out some camps in the rock that are up higher that you go to, you're going to have problems, because they'll slowly disappear one by one. And then your sand, if you have low water, then you're going to have more problems. So like even Pierce is on, where the sand really sits, or it's really going to be there. And see, that's down toward the lake, and that's where any silt they pick up now, that's right where it's laying. And of course the water can go through underneath the sand and come out below, but then you have a heck of a time getting through. And the dam just changes everything. It's not nature, never will be. You put dams in, well, that's just what you got. Yeah, you can just figure that you change forever. A lot hate it now because, of course, boatmen might like to experience the day before. But as far as people go, they wouldn't be as interested if they had the muddy water all the time. And if it was that high all the time now, the average probably wouldn't go. They get very many upsets. And then, of course, no matter where they went, they could upset pretty easy. And that high water, as they found out, even 82, which wasn't high to me, the 70 was not high to me, because I was used to having even a lot of 90,000 all the time. And so to me, that was nothing, but to them it was something. So if you put it back now, people still wouldn't go too much on it.
So, is that how did you come to design your boat? It was because it was for those...
To get people to go. I started out with a single boat, but I never was one. After swimming, probably because of my being the rougher type, that I didn't think like other people did. So to me, I didn't think it was that bad to upset and hang on to the boat and ride it and get in. And so, of course, you had to admit all this, and people wouldn't go, so I'm trying to get people. So then I thought about the 3 boats together. So then I got the 3 boats tied together, and then it worked so well with those Navy ones that those little Navy ones, they just worked so good I knew I had something. But I still couldn't convince people because they look so small, because those boats are small. I mean, smaller than the average rowboat now. And so then somehow when I got those 3, they first come out, those 3 big ones, why, boy, I didn't hesitate a minute, and I put 3 of them together. And then that picture you got there, I even had the motor on the outside the middle one, and that was something because you couldn't get to it. And it would hit everything, all the rocks and all. You couldn't afford to have that. So I knew I had to do something about getting the motor on the inside. So I'm the first one to get the motor on the inside like that up here and all that different thing, and to cut the bottom out. And that was real... you weren't too sure at first about cutting the bottom out of a rubber boat, because then it might go out this way and all this type thing. If you didn't have it this right, there's something to keep it from doing that. And so then you're just tying a tube in, you weren't sure how this was going to work. And so everything was very experimental, believe me. Your ties and everything, I didn't have them down right at first. I didn't have them tied together right. A whole lot of things weren't right at first. And it was just through time that eventually I got it down to where then it was good. And so then, of course, now they make the boats out the bottom, but that came because originally I was one who cut the bottoms out and all this type thing and got the motor on the inside to begin with, and then learned to put the rear motor back and anything else forward so you had more power. Because at first I had them even and that wasn't working. But this was all experimental in that high water day. And then I only used a 10-horse motor to begin with, which is nothing with 3 big boats. I mean, that's a laugh if you think about it, but it's what I had and it's all I could afford. Then I found on the little bitty boats, though, with the oars, I never used a motor up until after the dam. But then I did put a little motor on the middle, and it was real hard because then they hit so much with that motor. But you could use it, and it was good that way, but too expensive to be any good commercially. But I used those boats. So up until about 4 years ago, I run those boats. Somewhere around 3-4 years ago that I just quit. Literally, you could say that I haven't used them.